Welcome to Heartline Stories. Today's story follows Jesse and John, two kids who've lived most of their lives without knowing much about their mom's past. After a mysterious letter arrives, everything changes. They learn about a hidden inheritance from their mother's family, and their world is turned upside down. But as they dig deeper, they uncover shocking truths that no one could have expected. Will they accept the inheritance and meet the family they never knew? Or will the past reveal something that could change their lives forever? Keep watching to find out what happens next, and let us know where you're watching from. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. It was a sunny afternoon when Alex Harper, a successful millionaire, decided to visit his family's old gravesite. He hadn't been there in years. The air was warm, and the cemetery was quiet, except for the sound of birds chirping. As he walked toward his family's graves, something unusual caught his attention. Two young children, a boy and a girl, were sitting by a small, worn-out tombstone. They looked dirty and tired, but their faces were full of curiosity. Alex paused for a moment, watching them. The boy, about 10 years old, had a tattered jaunt and shoes that were too small. The girl, a few years younger, was hugging a small teddy bear. They didn't seem to notice Alex at first as they were busy cleaning the grave, their little hands carefully brushing away the dirt and placing fresh flowers. Feeling a pull in his heart, Alex approached them slowly. "Hey there, kids," he said gently. The boy looked up and gave him a small, shy smile. "Hello, sir," he replied softly. "Are you two okay?" Alex asked, noticing how tired they looked. The girl with a soft voice answered, "We're just fixing this grave. It's our mom's. She passed away last year. We want to keep it nice for her." Alex's heart sank. "I'm sorry to hear that," he said, kneeling down to their level. "Is there anyone helping you with this? You don't look well." The boy shook his head, his eyes filled with sadness. "We don't have anyone. We live in a small apartment, and it's hard sometimes. We don't have enough food, and Mom always said to take care of her grave." Alex felt a rush of emotions. He knew what it was like to have everything, but to be missing something important. Family. His own parents had passed away years ago, and his wealth never replaced the emptiness he felt. "How long have you been taking care of this alone?" Alex asked, his voice full of concern. "Since Mom passed," the girl replied, looking up at him with hopeful eyes. "We do it every week. We promised her." A deep silence hung in the air as Alex processed what they had said. He wanted to help. He couldn't stand seeing these two kids struggling, especially after all they had been through. Without thinking, Alex stood up and reached into his pocket. He pulled out his phone and typed a quick message to his assistant. He knew exactly what he wanted to do. "I want to help you," Alex said, turning to the children. "What are your names?" "I'm Jesse," the girl said, her eyes lighting up a little. "And I'm John," the boy added, his voice a little more hopeful. "Jesse, John, I'm going to make sure you both get the help you need. I know a few people who can make sure you're taken care of. But first, I want to make sure you're both safe and well. How about we get you some lunch? I know a place that has the best sandwiches." The kids looked at each other, unsure at first. But then, their faces brightened, and Jessie nodded, her voice soft but grateful. "Thank you." Alex smiled warmly. "You're welcome." They walked together to the nearest cafe, where Alex bought them both food and some drinks. As they sat at a small table, Alex couldn't help but feel a sense of peace. He had never done anything like this before. But something about these kids reminded him of his own childhood. It was like fate had brought him here. After they finished eating, Alex took them to a nearby shelter, where they were able to get a place to stay and some clothes. Over the next few days, he made sure they had everything they needed: clothes, school supplies, and even a new set of toys for Jesse. They were finally getting the support they deserved. But the most surprising moment came when Alex visited the kids a few weeks later. He had been helping them with their new life, but he didn't expect to find what he did. When he arrived at the shelter, Jesse and John weren't there. Instead, a woman greeted him at the door. She looked familiar, but Alex couldn't place her face. "I'm sorry," she said. "You must be Mr. Harper? I'm Jennifer, the children's aunt." Alex's heart skipped a beat. He had no idea the kids had family. "The kids have an aunt?" he asked, surprised. Jennifer smiled gently. "Yes, they do. We've been looking for them for a while. I'm so glad you found them first." She led him to the back where Jesse and John were playing with some toys. When the kids saw Alex, their faces lit up, and they ran over to him. "Mr. Harper," Jesse exclaimed, "you found our aunt." Alex nodded, feeling a strange mix of emotions. "I'm happy to see you two again. I'm glad you're with family now." Jennifer explained that she had been searching for her niece and nephew ever since their mother passed away. When she learned that they were safe with Alex's help, she couldn't be more grateful. But as they sat down to talk, Jennifer revealed something Alex never expected. "You know," Jennifer said, her voice trembling, "there's more to their story. Their mother was never just an ordinary woman. She was related to someone very important. Someone you know well. A family secret that's been kept for years." Alex's curiosity piqued. What was this family secret, and how was it connected to the kids? The answer would change everything, but for now the truth was yet to be revealed. Alex's eyes widened. He was about to learn something that would truly shock him. As Jennifer continued, Alex's curiosity grew. He leaned forward, eager to understand what she was hinting at. "You see," Jennifer began, "their mother, Sophie, wasn't just any woman. She came from a wealthy family, a family with ties to old money. The kind of wealth that people don't talk about much because of the way it was obtained. Sophie left it all behind when she met their father, who was a businessman. He was kind but not rich, and they built a life together far away from the old family's expectations." Alex couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Sophie came from a wealthy family," he repeated, stunned. "Yes," Jennifer said, looking around to make sure no one was eavesdropping. "Her family wanted her to marry someone of her status, someone with money, power. But Sophie chose love over fortune, and that decision made her family cut ties with her. No one knew where she went or how she was living. Not even I knew where she had gone until recently. She never told anyone she had children." Jennifer paused as though weighing whether she should say more. Alex couldn't hide his surprise. The idea that Sophie was part of a wealthy family, yet lived a modest life with her children, was beyond what he expected. "So these kids, they could be heirs to a fortune?" Alex asked, trying to piece everything together. Jennifer nodded. "Yes, but they don't know that. Sophie wanted to protect them from the past, and she never told them about her family's wealth. It's a secret she took with her when she passed. But now the truth is starting to come out, and their family is looking for them. They've been searching for a long time." Alex sat back, trying to process everything. He knew this was a turning point for the children. Their lives were about to change. But how? And what was he supposed to do with all of this information? Jennifer, noticing his confusion, smiled softly. "I know it sounds complicated, but I want to make sure they're safe. They deserve to know the truth, and I want to give them that chance. I just wasn't sure how to start." Alex took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the situation. "I think we should tell them the truth," he said, looking at Jesse and John, who were playing nearby. "They deserve to know who they are and what they could have, but we'll have to do it gently." Jennifer agreed. "We'll take it slow. The last thing I want is to overwhelm them. They've been through so much already." As they sat and talked, Jesse and John came over, sensing the serious tone in the conversation. Jessie tugged at Alex's sleeve. "Mr. Harper, is everything okay?" she asked, her big brown eyes full of concern. Alex smiled warmly at her. "Everything's fine, Jessie. Just some things we need to talk about, but don't worry, you're not alone in this." John, who had been listening quietly, spoke up. "Does this mean we get to meet more family?" Jennifer looked down at the two children, her eyes softening. "Yes, it does. There are people out there who want to know you, and I think it's time we find them." The children looked excited, but there was also a bit of fear in their eyes. They didn't fully understand what it meant to have a different life, a life filled with wealth, but they could sense that things were about to change. Alex stood up, looking at both of them. "For now, we'll make sure you're taken care of, and when you're ready, we'll figure out the next steps. Just know that I'm here for you, no matter what." Jesse hugged Alex tightly. "Thank you, Mr. Harper. You've been so kind to us." John nodded in agreement. "Yeah, you saved us. We're not alone anymore." As they left the shelter and headed back to the apartment, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something even bigger was coming. The mystery surrounding Sophie's past had opened up a whole new chapter in their lives, He had no idea where it would lead, but one thing was certain. The kids' lives were about to change forever. Later that evening, Alex received a phone call. It was from a law firm that had been tracking Sophie's family's estate. "Mr. Harper, we've been trying to reach the children. There's an important matter we need to discuss regarding Sophie's inheritance." Alex's heart raced. He knew this was the moment everything would change for Jesse and John. But what would this inheritance mean for them? And what did the law firm have to say about it? He took a deep breath. The answer was just around the corner, but the truth was more complicated than he ever imagined. Alex sat down on the couch, his phone still pressed to his ear. His thoughts raced. What inheritance? What did Sophie leave behind? And why hadn't anyone mentioned it before? He thought he had learned all there was to know about Sophie's past, but this was a whole new layer. "Mr. Harper," the lawyer's voice cut through his thoughts, "we have important documents related to Sophie's estate. We believe the children may be entitled to significant assets, and it's vital that we meet as soon as possible to discuss the next steps." Alex nodded even though the lawyer couldn't see him. "I understand. I'll make arrangements. How soon can we meet?" "Tomorrow morning, if possible. It's important to act quickly." Alex agreed, and after hanging up, he turned to Jennifer, who had been quietly observing him from the kitchen. She had noticed the change in his expression as soon as he ended the call. "What happened?" she asked, her voice full of concern. "It's about Sophie's inheritance," Alex replied, running a hand through his hair. "The lawyer wants us to meet tomorrow. It looks like there's more to her past than we thought." Jennifer's eyes widened in surprise. "An inheritance? I didn't know Sophie had anything like that. This could change everything for the kids." "I know," Alex said, looking out the window at the darkening sky. "But I'm starting to realize there's a lot I don't know about Sophie, about her past, and maybe even about how I fit into all of this." Jennifer walked over and sat next to him, her expression soft. "You've done so much already, Alex. The kids are lucky to have you, but it sounds like they're about to find out a lot more than they expected. Are they ready for all of this?" Alex thought about the two children who had been through so much already. They had already experienced the shock of Sophie's death, the uncertainty of their future, and now this, an inheritance they knew nothing about. He wasn't sure how they would react, but he knew they deserved to know the truth. "I'm not sure," Alex said, his voice thoughtful, "but I think it's time they learned who they really are." The next morning, Alex and Jennifer arrived at the law office, the air thick with anticipation. The lawyer, a stern-looking man in a dark suit, greeted them as they entered. "Mr. Harper, Miss Jennifer, thank you for coming," the lawyer said. "We've reviewed the documents, and it's clear that Sophie left a will. The children, Jesse and John, are listed as beneficiaries. They're entitled to a significant portion of her estate, including property, investments, and other assets." Alex's stomach dropped. He had a million questions, but the lawyer kept talking, explaining the legalities and logistics. The inheritance wasn't just about money, it was about the legacy Sophie left behind, and the family that had once rejected her, now wanting a claim to the wealth she had built with the man she loved. "There's just one thing," the lawyer continued. "There's a piece of property that is particularly valuable. It's a family estate that has been in Sophie's family for generations, and it's located in another state. The children have a choice to make. They can either take their inheritance now or choose to stay away from the family fortune altogether." Alex exchanged a look with Jennifer. This was unexpected. The children had been living in such a humble way. The thought of accepting such a large inheritance could change everything for them. But did they even want it? The lawyer handed Alex a thick envelope. "Here are the documents. I suggest you discuss this with them and let us know their decision." As they left the office, Alex's mind was spinning. How would Jesse and John react to this? Would they want to meet the family they never knew they had? What would accepting this inheritance mean for their future? Back at the shelter, Jesse and John were playing together in the corner. They didn't know about the inheritance yet, and Alex wasn't sure how to tell them. He took a deep breath and walked over to them. "Hey kids," Alex said, sitting down with them. "I need to talk to you about something important." Jesse looked up at him with curious eyes. "What's wrong, Mr. Harper?" Alex paused. "Nothing's wrong, but there's something you need to know. Your mom, Sophie, she left something behind for you, a big something." John frowned. "What do you mean?" What did she leave? Alex hesitated, unsure of how to explain it. She left you an inheritance. Property, money, a lot of things. Jesse's eyes widened. What? Why? She never told us anything about that. I know, Alex said softly, but it's yours now, and you have a choice to make. You can accept it or walk away from it. The two children sat in silence, processing the news. It was hard for them to grasp. Sophie's life, her choices, her secrets. Suddenly, everything felt like it was turning upside down. We don't know anything about her family, John said quietly. What do we do? Alex smiled gently. That's what we're going to figure out together. Jesse and John exchanged uncertain glances. They had never been told much about their mother's family. Sophie had always kept her past hidden, and now with this inheritance, they were faced with questions they never thought they'd have to answer. What happens if we accept it? Jesse asked hesitantly. Alex thought for a moment before responding, choosing his words carefully. If you choose to accept it, you might get a chance to know more about the family you never knew. But it also means you'll be tied to that family and their expectations. You might have to make decisions you never thought you'd have to make. John frowned. What do you mean by expectations? Well, Alex said slowly, some of them might want you to live a certain way. They might want you to follow their rules. But that's something we can think about later. What's important now is what you want. John looked up at Alex, his young face thoughtful. I think I'd like to know who they are. Maybe we can meet them, but I don't want to forget who we are or what we've been through. Jesse nodded in agreement. Yeah, I want to know about Mom's family, but I also don't want them to change us. Alex smiled softly. I'm proud of both of you. Whatever you decide, I'll be here to help you. This is your choice. You have the right to know who your mom was, and if you want to explore this part of your life, we'll do it together. The two children sat quietly for a moment, absorbing everything. This was a lot for them to take in, but Alex could see that they were starting to understand. They weren't just receiving an inheritance. They were being offered a chance to reconnect with a part of their mother's past that had always been hidden. After a few more moments, Jessie spoke up again, her voice steady. I think we should meet them. We should find out more, but we're going to do it on our terms. We don't want anyone pushing us around. Exactly, John added, his voice firm. We make the rules now. Alex nodded in agreement. He was proud of the strength they had shown through everything. This wasn't just about money or property. It was about discovering who they were and what their future would look like. Later that week, they made arrangements to meet with Sophie's family. It was a tense and emotional meeting, but surprisingly, the family was warm and welcoming. They weren't the cold, distant people Alex had imagined. They were kind and eager to learn about Jesse and John, and they apologized for not being there for Sophie when she needed them most. The meeting wasn't easy, but it marked the beginning of a new chapter in Jesse and John's lives. They had their inheritance, but more importantly, they had found a new sense of belonging, a family they never knew they had, and a chance to start over. As time passed, they continued to visit their newfound family, but they kept the lessons they had learned close to their hearts. They never forgot where they came from and stayed true to the people who had always been there for them. Like Alex, through it all, they realized that family wasn't just about wealth. It was about love, support, and the people who chose to be there for you, no matter what. In the end, Sophie's legacy wasn't about money or property. It was about the way she had loved her children and the life she had given them, even if she had kept parts of it hidden. And now Jesse and John had the power to decide what kind of life they wanted for themselves. Together, they could create their own future, a future where they were in control. The journey was just beginning, and Alex would be there every step of the way, ready to help them navigate this new world.